Welcome, adventurers, to a journey through the rich history of Dungeons and Dragons in the world of video games. I'm Geeky Gorivin, and today we'll embark on a quest to explore how this beloved tabletop RPG has influenced a captivating realm of pixels, quests, and epic adventures. But before we dive in, remember to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest content. Now grab your dice and let's roll into the world of D&D video games. Our journey into the history of Dungeons and Dragons begins at a time when role-playing was a term reserved for the stage and not yet associated with video games. It was the early 1970s, and two visionaries, Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson, had a dream of a game that would transport players into magical worlds of their own creation. Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson, both avid wargamers and fantasy enthusiasts, came together to bring this vision to life. They took inspiration from wargames and fantasy literature. But their innovation was to create a game where players would become the heroes, the villains, the explorers, and the storytellers. The early days of D&D saw handwritten character sheets, hand-drawn dungeon maps, and rules that were as imaginative as they were improvisational. The game was boundless, limited only by the creativity of its players. In 1974, Gygax and Arneson published their very first edition of Dungeons and Dragons. This slender volume contained the basic rules for the game, and it was named Three Little Brown Books. It was the beginning of an unprecedented journey into the realm of tabletop role-playing. D&D allowed players to create characters with attributes like strength, dexterity, intelligence, and charisma. They would embark on adventures often guided by a dungeon master, who served as both the narrator and referee, weaving epic tales and creating challenges for the players. As we dive deeper into the history of D&D video games, we must remember that it all began here, with these early rulebooks, character sheets, and the boundless imagination of its creators. The legacy of D&D would transcend paper and dice, shaping the digital world as we know it. As Dungeons and Dragons began to enchant tabletop gamers, it was only a matter of time before its imaginative magic seeped into the world of video games. In the early days of the digital revolution, video game designers were captivated by the concept of role-playing and the storytelling possibilities it offered. Video games of the 1970s and 80s were, by today's standards, remarkably primitive. Yet, amid the simple graphics and beeping sounds, game developers began to experiment with the storytelling potential of D&D. Their early creations planted the seeds for future RPGs. Two notable pioneers emerged from this era: Colossal Cave Adventure and Zork. These text-based adventure games embraced a narrative approach, inspired by the storytelling of D&D. Players explored mysterious caves, solving puzzles and facing danger, all through text commands. Playing these games was akin to participating in a novel, with vivid descriptions of the surroundings and the unfolding story. The player's imagination was the canvas on which these tales were painted. While text-based adventures held the spotlight, developers continued to experiment with graphical RPGs. Some early attempts included games like Temple of Akshai and Akalabeth World of Doom, which started to incorporate visual representations of characters and dungeons. Akalabeth World of Doom, designed by a young Richard Garriott, was a precursor of the more complex RPGs we would see later. It features character creation and dungeon crawling experience inspired by D&D, showcasing the growing influence of the tabletop on digital adventures. Beyond the realm of RPGs, the influence of D&D was felt in action and adventure games, like the Adventure for the Atari 2600 and Venture for arcade systems, incorporated elements of questing and exploration, mirrored by the spirit of tabletop D&D campaigns. As the 80s rolled on, the allure of D&D continued to spread throughout the gaming world. Many games began to adopt D&D-like concepts, such as character classes, leveling up, and even moral choices that affected the game's outcome. Enter Wizardry and Ultima, two seminal titles in the emergence of computer role-playing games. These games embrace the spirit of D&D, featuring detailed character customization, intricate quests, and moral dilemmas that challenge players' decision-making skills. Players explored lush fantasy worlds, complete with detailed lore, mythical creatures, and epic quests. These games set the stage for the golden age of CRPGs and their enduring influence on the modern RPGs. The success of Wizardry and Ultima demonstrated that there was a thirst for games that transported players to vibrant and complex fantasy realms. The D&D-inspired mechanics became integral to the DNA of the RPG genre. As the 80s dawned, the influence of Dungeons and Dragons on the world of video games grew even stronger. In this digital age, one name became associated with D&D gaming: the Gold Box series. But to understand its significance, we must journey back to a time where early computer technology was a far cry from today's gaming powerhouses. The company at the forefront of this digital revolution was Strategic Simulations Incorporated, or SSI. Founded by Joel Billings in 1979, SSI would play a pivotal role in bringing D&D adventures to life on computer screens. SSI's early titles were strategic wargames, a reflection of Billings' own interests, but it was their partnership with TSR, the publishers of Dungeons and Dragons, that would set the stage for the Gold Box series. During the early 80s, Dungeons and Dragons was not just a game, it was a cultural phenomenon. It had spawned a multitude of rulebooks, settings, and adventures. SSI saw the potential of adapting these beloved D&D materials into video games, and thus the Gold Box series was born. The Gold Box games, named for the distinctive gold packaging, introduced players to a world of Dungeons, Dragons, and Destiny. They encapsulated the essence of tabletop D&D with meticulous character creation, epic quests, and turn-based combat. The first game of the series, Pool of Radiance, transported players to the city of Flan, where they battled monstrous foes and unravelled a dark plot. Curse of the Azure Bonds continued the adventure, with the characters facing new challenges and threats. Character creation was a meticulous process, allowing players to assemble a party of heroes, each with their own strengths and weaknesses. The game's turn-based combat system ensured that strategy was paramount in battles against trolls, mages, and dragons. The Gold Box series expanded, giving players a plethora of epic adventures to embark upon. Titles like Secret of the Silver Blades and Pools of Darkness transported players to diverse and immersive worlds, each with its own set of challenges. The iconic Gold Box and SSI logo became a seal of quality, a promise of thrilling D&D adventure on your computer screen. These games were beloved by fans and laid the foundation of modern CRPGs. Behind the scenes, SSI's development team works tirelessly to translate D&D rules and stories into digital form. Their passion for D&D and gaming expertise ensured that the Gold Box series remained true to its tabletop inspirations. The Gold Box series was not only a commercial success, but a beloved cultural touchstone. Vintage advertisements and magazine features celebrated these games, and fans eagerly anticipated each new installment. While the 80s saw the rise of D&D inspired computer games, the Gold Box series and SSI's commitment to quality had a lasting legacy. The mechanics and storytelling they popularized continued to influence RPGs to this day. The 90s marked a renaissance for Dungeons and Dragons in the world of video games. As technology advanced, developers had new opportunities to create immersive digital worlds, inspired by the rich lore of D&D. In this section, we'll explore the key titles and trends that defined this era, including some lesser-known gems. Our journey begins with Baldur's Gate. Developed by BioWare and released in 1998, this game was a revelation. It embraced the rules and storytelling of D&D, bringing to life the iconic Forgotten Realms setting. Character creation was more detailed than ever, with various races, classes, and alignment options. Players embarked on a journey filled with epic quests, richly written characters, and moral dilemmas that shaped the outcome of the game. And then there's the Dark Alliance series, which offered a different flavour to D&D gaming. Released in the early 2000s, this game combined cooperative action and RPG elements, allowing players to dive into the D&D universe with friends. And in 2021, Dark Alliance made a triumphant return, bringing the series to a modern era. Players could once again embrace the thrill of cooperative dungeon crawling and real-time combat in the richly detailed world of D&D. Amidst the surge of D&D inspired video games in the 90s, there were titles that attempted to capture the allure of D&D universe, but veered from the traditional RPG format. Blood and Iron: Warriors of Ravenloft was one of these ventures. Instead of embracing the classic role-playing game mechanics associated with D&D, Blood and Iron ventured into the uncharted territory of fighting games. It was a bold experiment that aimed to introduce D&D fans to the intensity of one-on-one combat in the dark and gothic realm of Ravenloft. Players found themselves in fierce battles against characters armed with a unique set of moves and abilities. The game's combat system, while promising, lacked the depth and complexity typical of traditional D&D combat. Blood and Iron: Warriors of Ravenloft serves as a reminder that not every attempt to adapt the D&D experience into video games achieves the desired success. The game has its merits, but it also highlights the challenges of translating the depth and complexity of D&D into a different gaming genre. The 90s also saw the emergence of one of my favourite co-op action series, inspired by D&D, the Champions of Norath series. Both Champions of Norath and its sequel, Champions Return to Arms, offered cooperative gameplay and a vibrant world to explore. It was a journey marked by battles, loot, camaraderie, creating unforgettable adventures for gamers. And as we reached the late 2010s, it's impossible to ignore the surge in D&D mainstream popularity. Shows like Critical Role and cultural phenomenon like Stranger Things have rekindled the love for D&D. These cultural touchstones have opened the doors for new generations to embrace the magic of tabletop role-playing, ensuring that the legacy of D&D will continue to thrive for years to come. Critical Role emerged as a phenomenon that not only showcased the joy of tabletop role-playing, but also made it accessible for a global audience. This actual play web series featured voice actors and storytellers brought D&D adventures to life in a way that captivated and inspired fans worldwide. At the same time, the Netflix series Stranger Things wove the tapestry of D&D into its narrative. The show introduced the game to a new generation, making it an integral part of the storyline. Stranger Things was a nostalgic ode to the 80s and a love letter to the classic tabletop role-playing game. The combined influence of Critical Role and Stranger Things reignited the love for D&D. Fans, both old and new, were eager for more digital adventures in the D&D universe. It was against this backdrop of enthusiasm and creativity that Baldur's Gate 3 was born. Released in 2023, Baldur's Gate 3 became an instant classic, setting new standards for role-playing games. Developed by Larian Studios, this game was a testament to the enduring appeal of D&D, and is widely considered one of the most in-depth and outstanding RPGs of its time. The game combined the rich storytelling and character development of classic D&D with stunning visuals and intricate gameplay. Baldur's Gate 3 was hailed not just by D&D enthusiasts, but by gamers and critics worldwide as an epic journey that captured the essence of tabletop role-playing. These developments marked the transformation of Dungeons and Dragons from a beloved niche hobby into a cultural juggernaut. The digital world had embraced the magic of D&D, and it was clear that D&D would persist for years to come. From the humble origins of tabletop D&D to the epic quests and pixelated worlds, the influence of this iconic game has left a lasting legacy in the video game industry. D&D has sparked imagination, creativity, and camaraderie across generations of gamers. Thank you for joining me on this adventure. If you enjoyed this journey through the history of D&D video games, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content.